Hey man, what's happening? Oh, hey man, what's up? Hey, I got a question for you. Yeah. What's goaltender interference? Now that I think about it, I don't know. I don't know what goaltender interference is. Do you know? I got no idea, bro. No idea. You? Man, I thought I knew. I really did. I thought I knew what goaltender interference was. Now I'm not even sure anymore. It was pretty great when it happened to Edmonton, though. Look call my bud. Hello. Hey, do you know what goaltender interference is? Dude, I'm still wondering how the Capitals got away with holding Scott Darling's glove while he was trying to go back and make a save. You know what? If that's not goaltender interference, I don't know what is. Interesting. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another video. So today I'm basically going to talk about goaltender interference. It's going to be a rant. I probably won't do much editing. But whatever. Let's get going. So one of the hottest things right now is goaltender interference. There have been 3 calls in the last couple of days that have just mystified people about whether a goal has gone in or about whether a goal has not. And it really started on, I believe it was Monday night, with Toronto against the Avalanche. And boy, was this controversial. And it's probably come to fruition in the last couple of days because it's Toronto. But this has been a huge topic ever since the reviews started happening. I don't know exactly when they implemented that. I have not been following hockey for more than probably 4 or 5 years. Too adamantly. Like, I've been focused dead on hockey for about 2 years. So, this past week, Colorado was in Toronto playing to keep their 10 games winning streak alive against the team that they had started against, Toronto. And so the Torontos have it in the Colorado zone. They're just putting pucks to the net, and Austin Matthews is in front doing his job. So he's standing there in front, and a shot goes by. It hits Bernier, and then Bernier just completely loses sight of it. It's behind him. He doesn't know where it is. He's kind of just like backing up a little bit. Austin Watson hits the net hits the puck into the net, essentially. And so, he goes and celebrates, and then Colorado challenges to play for goaltender interference. It was kind of like this. Austin Matthews is standing in front, and he, moves to kind of see the puck. The puck is behind him. The puck is about right here, right? And Austin Matthews kind of brushes up against him a little bit, and Bernier a little bit. Bernier is in the blue ice. So is Austin Matthews. So, with that, Bernier didn't contest to it, I don't think. At least that's what I was told, or that's what I saw on Steve Dangle and heard on Steve Dangle podcast. And they waved off the goal for goaltender interference. Okay, that's fine. Tuesday night, the Tampa Bay Lightning are visiting the Nashville Predators in what seems to be a marquee matchup right now, and a lot of people are saying that's the Stanley Cup that's going to happen. Which I hope it does, because that would be really awesome, and go Preds, and I'd see that, or the Preds Devils, whatever. So, what happens is, again, it's the same play that happened with Austin Matthews. They're putting pucks on net. PK Subban winds up for a one-timer, throws the puck at the net. Victor Arvidsson does what he does, and he jumps out of the way of Louis Domingue. So he can take his eyes away, because he's a smaller goalie. Louis Domingue's down in the butterfly position. He's bumped a little bit. He gets up, and he just starts yelling at the ref. He's like, dude, where's the call? What are you doing? So they rule it goal on the ice. And then they go up to the situation room in Toronto. And Toronto agrees. It ends up standing as a goal. The difference between these two is that Louis Domingue was in the white ice, and Victor Arvidsson was not and Louis Domingue was in the white ice, whereas Bernier was not. He was still in his crease. Austin Matthews was in his crease, but Victor Arvidsson was not. So, what's the deal? Can we get some consistency? That's one of the things that a lot of these fans have just been preaching. I just want consistent calls. Same thing with offside, but I'll get into that in maybe a completely different video if there's just something whole new that just completely just screws people's minds, and oh man, how is it offsides? Blah blah blah. So basically, and then there was another call in the Toronto-Chicago game and I think it was ruled as a no goal, but against Chicago. I think Chicago put the puck in the back of the net. Again, these are just game-changing goals. Now, Toronto went on and lost that game. Austin Matthews ended up going and scoring again regardless. That was going to be good. He had that huge celebration where he took a turn and he just pointed at the goal. That was pretty cool. I like that. The Tampa Bay Lightning ended up winning off of a Steven Stamkos shot and just a great play in front of the net in overtime. I believe Toronto ended up winning last night's game 3-2 over the Chicago Blackhawks. But there's just no consistency right now. And really this whole what is goaltender interference thing started later in last season, or later in the postseason when it was game 5 or 6, Edmonton and Anaheim series, and I don't know how those goals weren't called back, but they just weren't. Pretty sure at one point, Ryan Kessler was sitting on top of Cam Talbot, and they let the goal in. Anaheim ended up winning that game, and I think it was game 5. And that just changed the momentum. If Edmonton escapes that building with a win, and then they go on to win game 6, they're the ones in the Western Conference Final, and that just made people go ballistic. Because Anaheim drove it to a game 7, essentially, by that in game 5. Even though they took a 3-2 lead, they made it go to game 7. And in that game, otherwise, Edmonton goes and they win game 5 and they win game 6, and they're playing the National Predators. And it could be a very different Stanley Cup. It could be a very different Western Conference Finals. It could be a very different Stanley Cup. Because last year, Edmonton, even though they had lost, I think at that point, 9 straight again to the hands of the National Predators, they weren't getting swept. They were going to push a game 7, and they might have we might have seen Sidney Crosby versus Connor McDavid in a Stanley Cup. Hell, if they win, if Edmonton wins the series, they might even win the Cup. But enough of that if, ands, or buts. That's not what happened. They won the West. They didn't win the Cup. But you see the point I'm making here. So, I was just listening to Hockey Central, and they had, I don't remember his name. He's the head of hockey operations, and he was basically saying that one thing that they want just as much as the fans do is consistency. And I remember him saying that in order for the goaltender interference to not be goaltender interference, it have to be outside the blue paint. And once you're outside the blue paint, that is fair game, and I completely agree. Which brings me back to a different goal that was disallowed, which was Ben Bishop when they were playing, I believe it was the Colorado Avalanche, and Blake Como comes in and runs Ben Bishop over. In my opinion, once you're outside of that blue paint, you cannot. The goaltender interference is not a thing anymore. There is just another skater on the ice. Alright? It's like saying if you interfere with the 6th person went on the play that it's goaltender interference. It's not. Okay, that was a dumb example. I realize that now. Whatever, I'll edit that out later. But it just doesn't make any sense to me. I understand you're prohibiting the goalie from getting back into the net, but he shouldn't be out of the net getting it when there are players that close to him. He should be in his net. He should be able to get back, make a save. If he's in his net, he's able to track the puck and get the save, and let his defense in front of him be able to get it. Another one was that really didn't stir up any controversy whatsoever, and it was because of what team that was on, was Scott Darling. And I mentioned that in my intro. Scott Darling was interfered with by the Washington Capitals, and that changed that game. Washington ended up winning 4-3. They probably would have won in overtime if that goal had been disallowed, because they were down 2-0, I believe, at that point. Or 2-1, or something like that. And so, I believe it was Dmitry Orlov. He scores the game-tying goal. I think it was 2-1, and then Dmitry Orlov scored. It was a game-tying goal. 2-2, I think it was in the second period. And the entire sequence, Scott Darling's making great saves, but if you look really closely, Scott Darling's arm gets held, and it's a debate whether or not he's in the blue crease. He's half in, half out. but Dmitry Orlov just grabbed his arm and he could not make it back to make any save. His stick was gone, his arm was being held. How that didn't come back is beyond me. They reviewed it for goaltender interference, and they said there was no goaltender interference. Look, if he's outside the blue paint, I completely understand, but that's still a holding call. There's still a penalty on the play. There's a trip by Alex Ovechkin. There's a slash by Alex Ovechkin, all in that same sequence. And look, I'm no Carolina Hurricanes fan, but I just want consistency, just like the rest of you. And if we're not going to get any consistency, what the hell is the point in calling the penalty? And if you're going to call a penalty, why aren't they getting a goaltender interference penalty? Isn't that a penalty? That happened to Matthias Ekholm. I can't remember if it was last year during the playoffs or just last year in general. No, it was last year during the playoffs during Anaheim because he went in, he shot the puck, he went in hard, he was not charging the crease. That's a bad wording. He was bringing it into the crease. He throws the puck on net, and it just keeps going. He runs over John Gibson, and that has been the second time that it happened that game. In I think a matter of like 4 minutes, and then we ended up scoring again. So it was kind of erased, and nothing was scored on the power play because the penalty kill was good during the playoffs. But he got it. He was assessed a 2-minute minor for goaltender interference. If you're gonna call the call and disallow the goal, give them the penalty. I don't care what happens. Like, I don't know. It's kind of a gray area of whether or not you should give them a penalty or if you should not give them the penalty and just disallow the goal. I don't know. It depends on the circumstances, I guess. And I guess the same thing goes for goaltender interference in general. So really, I guess consistency will never come. That's it for me. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked it, give me a like. If you want to see more, subscribe because there will be a lot more videos this weekend. And give me a follow on Facebook and Instagram. The links will be posted down below in the description. Thank you.